Welcome to Feel Learns English.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Feel Learns English, the English podcast where we help you make your English stronger, smoother, and much more natural with every single episode.
Hey everyone, we are really happy you are here with us again today, and we hope you are ready to learn something useful.
I'm Shafi, and I'm excited to practice English with you.
And I'm Tanvir, and I'm always happy to learn and speak English together with all of you.
In today's episode, Tanvir and I are going to help you sound more fluent and more confident in everyday English conversations.
Yes, Shafi, and we will make everything simple, clear, and easy to understand so you can use it in real life.
But before we begin, I want to remind everyone to like this video if you enjoy learning with us.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new lesson from us.
You can also share this video with a friend who is learning English just like you.
Because when you support us, we can continue making more helpful lessons for you.
One more important thing before we start. Please don't just listen quietly.
Yes, Shafi, you should speak with us and repeat after us as much as possible.
You can pause the video anytime if you need more time to understand or practice.
And most importantly, you should enjoy the learning process and not feel stressed.
Tanvir, can I tell you something a little strange?
Of course, Shafi. You always have something funny or strange to say.
Last night, I spent about 30 minutes looking for my phone.
That sounds like a big problem, Shafi. So where did you find it?
Can you guess where it was, Tanvir?
Was it in your bag?
No, it was not in my bag.
Okay, then maybe it was on the table.
No, it was not on the table either.
Then maybe it was under the couch.
No, Tanvir, it was not under the couch.
All right, Shafi, I give up. Please tell me where it was.
It was in my hand the whole time.
Wait, Shafi, are you serious? You were holding your phone while looking for it?
Yes, Tanvir, I was holding it and still searching for it everywhere.
That is honestly very funny and also a little impressive.
Thank you, Tanvir. I think I have a special talent for wasting time in creative ways.
That might be the funniest thing I have heard all week, Shafi.
Wait, Tanvir, what did you just say?
I said that might be the funniest thing I have heard all week.
Exactly, Tanvir. That is a perfect example for today's lesson.
Oh, I see what you did there, Shafi. That was very smart.
Today, we are going to learn how to use words like may, might, perhaps, and often.
These words are very common, but many learners feel confused when they try to use them.
Yes, Tanvir, they understand the words, but they are not confident when speaking.
So today, we will make everything clear and easy for everyone.
By the end of this lesson, you will be able to use these words naturally.
And you will feel more confident when speaking English in daily life.
Let's start with the first word, which is may.
All right, Shafi, can you explain what may means?
Yes, Tanvir, may usually means something is possible.
That means there is a chance something can happen, but we are not sure.
For example, I can say, it may rain today.
That means maybe it will rain and maybe it will not rain.
Exactly, Tanvir. It shows possibility.
And it sounds a little more polite and formal than saying maybe.
Let me give another example. She may come to the party tonight.
That means she might come, but we are not completely sure.
Tanvir, do you have a question?
Yes, Shafi, can we use may to ask for permission?
That is a great question, Tanvir, and the answer is yes.
For example, we can say, may I come in?
Yes, that is a very polite way to ask for permission.
So may can be used for both possibility and polite permission.
Exactly, Tanvir. That is perfect understanding. I think learners mostly hear the word may for possibility in everyday English.
Yes, Shafi, especially in daily conversations, people use may very often.
Okay, Tanvir. Now what about the word might?
That's a good question, Shafi, because might is very similar to may.
So, Tanvir, are may and might exactly the same?
Not exactly, Shafi, but they are very close in meaning.
Both of them talk about possibility, right?
Yes, Shafi, both are used when something is possible.
Then what is the difference between them, Tanvir?
The difference is small, Shafi, but important, because might usually sounds a little less certain.
Ah, so if I say it may rain, I think rain is possible.
Yes, Shafi, that means you believe there is a real chance of rain.
But if I say it might rain, it sounds less sure.
Exactly, Shafi. It still means possible, but the chance feels a little weaker.
That's interesting, Tanvir. So the meaning is similar, but the feeling is different.
Yes, Shafi, the difference is very subtle, but useful in real conversations.
Let's compare them clearly, Tanvir.
Okay, Shafi, let's do a simple comparison.
If I say it may happen, it sounds possible.
And if you say it might happen, it still sounds possible, but maybe less likely.
That is a very small difference, but I can understand it now.
Yes, Shafi, and honestly, many native speakers use them almost interchangeably.
So both may and might are okay in many situations?
Yes, Shafi. In most cases, both are completely fine to use.
Let me try some examples, Tanvir.
Go for it, Shafi. I'm listening.
I might go to the gym later.
That sounds natural, Shafi.
We might watch a movie tonight.
Very good example, Shafi.
He might call you tomorrow.
Excellent, Shafi. All your sentences are correct.
I already feel this is very useful.
Yes, Shafi, because we use these words all the time in real life.
If I say, I may go out tonight and I might go out tonight, are both correct?
Yes, Shafi. Both sentences are correct and natural.
Let's make it more fun, Tanvir.
Okay, Shafi, I'm ready.
Imagine your friend texts you and asks, are you coming tonight?
And I'm not sure about my plan.
Then what can you say, Tanvir?
I can say, I may come.
That's correct, Tanvir.
Or I can say, I might come.
Perfect, Tanvir. Both sound very natural. Now let's move to the next word, which is perhaps.
Ooh, Shafi, this word sounds a little fancy.
Yes, Tanvir, it does sound a bit more formal.
So what does perhaps mean, Shafi?
Perhaps means the same as maybe.
Ah, so it is just a more formal way to say maybe.
Yes, Tanvir, that's exactly right.
So instead of saying, maybe we should leave, I can say, perhaps we should leave.
Very nice, Tanvir. That sounds more elegant.
Yes, Shafi, it sounds calm and thoughtful.
Let me try some more examples, Tanvir.
Go ahead, Shafi, I'm listening again.
Perhaps he forgot.
That sounds very natural, Shafi.
Perhaps we should try again.
Good sentence, Shafi.
Perhaps tomorrow will be better.
Beautiful, Shafi. I like these examples.
I also like this word, Tanvir.
Yes, Shafi, it makes your English sound more mature.
That's true, Tanvir, and many learners forget to use it.
From now on, I will try to use it more.
Perhaps you will, Tanvir.
Very funny, Shafi.
All right, Tanvir, now let's talk about our last word, which is often.
Yes, Shafi, I hear this word all the time.
That's because it is very common in English.
So what does often mean, Shafi?
Often means frequently or many times.
So it describes something that happens regularly.
Exactly, Tanvir.
Can you give an example, Shafi?
I often drink coffee in the morning.
That is a perfect example.
She often arrives early.
Good sentence, Shafi.
We often talk on weekends.
Excellent, Shafi.
Tanvir, where does often usually go in a sentence?
That's a very important question, Shafi.
Often usually comes before the main verb.
Like in the sentence, I often eat late.
Exactly, Tanvir, that is correct.
But we should not say I eat often late because that sounds unnatural.
Yes, Tanvir, that is not natural English.
Okay, Shafi, I understand now.
Now let's try to use all 4 words together.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge, Shafi.
Yes, Tanvir, here's my sentence.
I'm ready, Shafi.
I often go for walks, but I may skip today because it might rain, and perhaps I will stay home instead.
Wow, Shafi, that sentence used all 4 words perfectly.
Yes, Tanvir, and it sounds like real English.
That's because it is real English.
I think learners are understanding better now.
Yes, Shafi, we have learned the basic meanings of may, might, perhaps, and often.
But now we're going a little deeper.
Yes, Shafi, because understanding meaning is one thing, but using it in real life is another.
Let me ask you something interesting, Tanvir.
Go ahead, Shafi.
Do you think aliens exist?
Wow, Shafi, that is a deep question.
I like asking interesting questions, Tanvir.
Okay, Shafi, I will answer.
What would you say, Tanvir?
I would say they may exist.
That sounds good, Tanvir.
Or I could say they might exist.
Perfect, Tanvir. Both sound perfect.
Or I could say perhaps they exist somewhere.
Excellent, Tanvir. All three sentences work well.
Do they all mean the same thing, Shafi?
They're similar, Tanvir, but the feeling is slightly different.
Can you explain the difference, Shafi?
If you say they may exist, it sounds thoughtful and neutral.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you say they might exist, it sounds a little less certain.
So it shows less confidence.
Exactly, Tanvir.
And what about perhaps?
Perhaps sounds softer, calmer, and a bit more elegant.
That is very interesting, Shafi.
Yes, Tanvir, the meaning is similar, but the tone changes.
That is actually very important for speaking naturally.
Yes, Tanvir, because fluent English is not only about grammar, but also about tone and feeling. I think learners sometimes forget this important idea.
Yes, Shafi, that is very true.
They learn the words, but they don't learn the feeling behind them.
Exactly, Shafi. And language is not just words. It also has feeling and tone.
All right, Tanvir, let's imagine a situation.
Okay, Shafi, I'm ready.
Imagine your friend asks you, "Why is Sarah late?"
That's a common situation, Shafi.
So what can you say in that case?
I can say she may be stuck in traffic.
That's a good answer, Tanvir.
Or I can say she might be busy.
Very nice, Tanvir.
I can also say perhaps she forgot the time.
Excellent, Tanvir. All of those sound natural and useful.
Yes, Shafi, because in real life we often guess or suggest possibilities.
Ah, Tanvir, you used the word often there.
Yes, Shafi, I did that on purpose.
Nice one, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
Now, let's talk more about often, because many learners use it incorrectly.
Yes, Shafi, I have heard many learners struggle with where to place it.
Exactly, Tanvir. So tell me, where does often usually go in a sentence?
It usually goes before the main verb, Shafi.
Correct, Tanvir.
For example, I often study at night.
Perfect example, Tanvir.
Another example is she often forgets her keys.
Excellent, Tanvir.
We can also say we often go out on weekends.
Very natural, Tanvir.
But can often go somewhere else, Shafi?
Yes, Tanvir, sometimes it can.
Really, Shafi?
Yes, Tanvir, sometimes we can put it at the beginning or end for emphasis.
Can you give an example, Shafi?
Yes, Tanvir. For example, often people learn faster when they relax.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Another example is, we go there often.
Nice, Shafi. So there is some flexibility.
Yes, Tanvir, but beginners should first learn the normal position.
That makes sense, Shafi.
Now, let's do something fun.
I'm ready, Shafi.
I'm going to ask you some random questions, and you must answer using one of today's words.
Challenge accepted, Shafi.
Do you think you will become rich someday?
I may become rich if this podcast becomes famous.
I like your confidence, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
Do you think you will travel this year?
I might travel if I save enough money.
Good answer, Tanvir. Now it's your turn.
Okay, Shafi, I have a question for you. Do you think we should order dessert tonight?
Perhaps, Tanvir, but only if you are paying.
Wow, Shafi, that is very clever.
Thank you, Tanvir. I always try to be clever.
How often do you eat dessert, Shafi?
I often eat dessert on weekends.
That is an honest answer, Shafi.
I believe in honesty, Tanvir.
I think these examples really help learners.
Yes, Tanvir, because learners need repetition in different situations. I want to ask something that learners may be thinking.
Go ahead, Shafi.
What is the difference between maybe and perhaps?
That is a great question, Shafi, because they seem the same.
Yes, Tanvir, they are basically the same in meaning.
Then why should we use perhaps, Shafi?
Because perhaps sounds a little more formal, polished, and thoughtful.
Ah, and maybe is more casual and used in everyday speech.
Exactly, Tanvir.
So if I say maybe we should leave, it sounds casual and friendly.
Yes, Tanvir.
And if I say, perhaps we should leave, it sounds softer and more elegant.
That's right, Tanvir.
That is very interesting, Shafi.
Yes, Tanvir, and using both makes your English more flexible.
I think using variety makes someone sound more fluent.
Absolutely, Tanvir, because repeating the same word again and again sounds basic.
Yes, Shafi, if you always say maybe, 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 it becomes repetitive.
Exactly, Tanvir. So replacing it with perhaps makes your English stronger.
Can we do a mini role play, Shafi?
Yes, Tanvir, that's a great idea.
Okay, let's imagine we're planning a trip.
Perfect, Tanvir.
Where should we go this weekend?
Perhaps we should go somewhere quiet.
We may go to the mountains.
That sounds nice, Tanvir, but it might rain.
That's true, Shafi. We often have bad luck with the weather.
Yes, Tanvir, we do.
That conversation felt very natural.
Yes, Tanvir, because it is real-life English.
Now let's go a little deeper into may and might.
Good idea, Tanvir, because many learners still feel confused.
Yes, Shafi, so what is the easiest way to understand them?
Use may when something feels possible.
Okay, Shafi.
Might means weaker possibility. Exactly, Tanvir.
Let me test myself, Shafi. The teacher may give us homework.
That sounds possible.
The teacher might give us homework.
That is still possible, but less likely.
Ah, now I understand clearly.
In real life, Tanvir, native speakers don't always think about this difference.
Really, Shafi?
Yes, Tanvir, many native speakers use them almost the same.
That is helpful to know, Shafi.
Yes, Tanvir, so learners should not stress too much.
So if learners mix them sometimes, it is okay?
Absolutely, Tanvir, it is completely fine.
That will help learners feel more relaxed.
Yes, Tanvir, because stress blocks learning.
I often see learners overthink grammar.
That is very true, Tanvir.
They know the rules, but they panic while speaking.
Exactly, Tanvir. That is why practice is more important than perfection.
Let's help learners build confidence.
Yes, Tanvir. Everyone listening, please repeat after us. I may go shopping later.
I might call my friend tonight.
Perhaps we should wait a little longer.
I often wake up early.
Let's repeat again, Tanvir.
Yes, Shafi. Repetition helps learning.
I may go shopping later.
I might call my friend tonight.
Perhaps we should wait a little longer.
I often wake up early.
Good repetition builds confidence, Tanvir.
Yes, Shafi. Repetition really helps learners feel more comfortable.
I think part 3 should be the most powerful section.
Definitely, Shafi. This is where we combine everything.
We should bring all the ideas together into deep and natural conversations.
And we should help learners use these words without thinking too much.
Exactly, Tanvir, because we want learners to feel these words, not just remember them.
Yes, Shafi. When you truly feel how a word works, you stop translating in your head.
And when you stop translating, you start speaking naturally.
That is the real goal of learning a language, Shafi.
Tanvir, can I be honest with you?
Of course, Shafi, you can always be honest.
I think these small words are more powerful than people realize.
Absolutely, Shafi. They are simple but very important.
Because if someone only learns big vocabulary but cannot use simple words naturally, their English still sounds unnatural.
Exactly, Shafi. Fluency is not only about difficult words.
Fluency is about using simple words in a natural way.
That was beautifully said, Shafi.
Thank you, Tanvir. Maybe I should become a motivational speaker one day.
You might become one, Shafi, if you stop talking about yourself every 5 minutes.
Wow, Tanvir, that was a little rude.
Perhaps it was a little rude, Shafi.
Nice use of perhaps, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
Now let's imagine a real-life situation.
Okay, Shafi, I'm ready.
Imagine a student is feeling very nervous before an exam.
That is a very relatable situation, Shafi.
And the student says, I don't think I'm ready.
That sounds like many learners, Shafi.
So what would you say to encourage them, Tanvir?
I might say, you may know more than you think.
That is a very encouraging sentence, Tanvir.
Or I could say, perhaps you are just nervous, and that is making you doubt yourself.
That sounds very supportive, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
I think learners need emotional examples like this.
Yes, Shafi, because real life is emotional.
And we use English to express real feelings.
Exactly, Shafi.
Let's try another situation.
Okay, Shafi, let's do it.
Imagine your friend is late again,
That happens very often, Shafi.
and someone asks, "Where is he?"
I could say, he may still be at work.
That is a good answer, Tanvir.
Or I could say, he might be stuck in traffic.
Nice example, Tanvir.
Or I could say, perhaps he forgot the time.
Perfect, Tanvir. All of those sound natural.
Yes, Shafi, we naturally use these words when we are guessing.
That's true, Tanvir. We use them when we are not sure.
Exactly, Shafi.
I often hear learners only use the word maybe.
Yes, Shafi, all the time.
They say things like maybe this, maybe that, maybe tomorrow, maybe later.
Exactly, Shafi. It becomes repetitive.
So using may, might, and perhaps gives more variety.
And variety makes your English sound more fluent.
Now let's talk about habits, because that is where often becomes important.
That is a good idea, Shafi.
All right, Tanvir, how often do you read books?
I often read before going to bed.
Nice habit, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
How often do you exercise?
I often go for walks in the evening.
That sounds healthy, Tanvir.
Thank you, Shafi.
How often do you procrastinate?
Shafi, we are not discussing that question.
So you procrastinate often?
Perhaps, Shafi.
I caught you, Tanvir.
Very funny, Shafi.
Often is very useful because people talk about routines all the time.
Yes, Shafi. Daily habits and lifestyle conversations use often.
Let me give some examples.
Go ahead, Shafi.
I often drink water while working.
That is a good habit, Shafi.
She often visits her grandmother.
That is a nice example.
We often study together.
Excellent, Shafi.
Now I want to combine all 4 words into a short story.
That sounds fun, Shafi.
I often wake up early because I enjoy quiet mornings.
That sounds peaceful, Shafi.
I may go for a walk if the weather is nice.
That is a good plan.
I might stop for coffee on my way back home.
That sounds relaxing.
Perhaps I will bring breakfast home as well.
That was a beautiful story, Shafi.
Thank you, Tanvir.
And you used all 4 words naturally.
Exactly, Tanvir. Now let's challenge the listeners.
Yes, it is practice time. All right, everyone. Please answer these questions out loud.
Question 1. What do you often do on weekends?
For example, you can say, I often relax and watch movies.
Question 2. What may happen tomorrow?
For example, it may rain tomorrow.
Question 3. What might you do this evening?
For example, I might study English tonight.
Question 4. What perhaps should you do this week?
For example, perhaps I should organize my room.
Very nice, Tanvir.
Yes, Shafi. Now learners are building real-life answers.
I think when people answer personal questions, they improve faster.
Absolutely, Shafi, because English becomes connected to their real life.
And when English becomes personal, it becomes easier to remember.
Exactly, Shafi, and that is how real learning happens.
Exactly, Tanvir. Let's do one deeper conversation before we finish.
Yes, Shafi, something thoughtful would be great.
All right, Tanvir. Where do you think you will be in 5 years?
Shafi, I may be living in a different city.
That sounds interesting, Tanvir.
Yes, Shafi, and I might even start a new project.
That sounds exciting, Tanvir.
I perhaps will finally write that book I always talk about.
Oh, Tanvir, you often talk about writing that book.
Yes, Shafi, I do talk about it a lot.
I really think you should do it one day.
Thank you, Shafi. That means a lot.
That kind of conversation feels very mature and reflective.
Yes, Shafi, because these words help us express deeper thoughts.
Exactly, Tanvir. They make our English sound more thoughtful.
Not just basic or simple, but more natural and real.
I think learners are ready now.
Yes, Shafi, especially if they followed the full episode.
Now they understand not just the meanings, but how to use the words.
And that is very powerful for real communication.
Very powerful, Tanvir.
Before we finish, let's do one final review together.
Great idea, Tanvir.
All right, Shafi, let's start.
May means something is possible.
Might means something is possible, but a little less certain.
Perhaps means maybe, but more polished and elegant.
Often means frequently, something that happens many times.
Perfect, Tanvir.
And everyone, remember this important message.
Don't just understand these words, use them in real life.
Put them into your daily speaking, even if it feels a little difficult.
Speak even if you make mistakes.
Because mistakes are a natural part of learning.
And confidence comes from action, not from waiting.
Exactly, Shafi. Confidence comes from practice.
All right, everyone, if this episode helped you, please like the video.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
You can also share this episode with a friend who is learning English.
Because your support helps us create more lessons like this.
And we really love helping you grow your English.
You've been listening to Phil Learns English, the English podcast.
Keep practicing and keep improving every day.
Remember, you may struggle sometimes.
You might feel frustrated sometimes.
Perhaps progress feels slow at times.
But if you keep going, you will improve.
See you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.